thanks for all speakers so far, which allows me a little bit to frame this last thing. It's not called AI literacy, because before we speak about AI literacy, we have to speak about data literacy. Basically, when you look at that slide, what do you see? Data in form of an image. You see data literacy. This is a word consisting of characters. This is you consuming pure data on this slide. I was asked to put the logo of today on here. So I was asked to produce the right content from a formatting point of view for the conference. This is what data quality is about. So we're permanently consuming data, we're producing data, speaking, I produce data. And this is the point I would like to make. I have several of you, I know from somewhere, I have several hats. So today I want to show a little bit my hat, which is really about data literacy and how we made this reality happen soon in Switzerland with the slogan, leave no one behind. I started already because for me, what we have to get is, we heard it several times, we have to prepare our citizens for the future, for the present and for the future. A lot of things, I have a PhD from EPFL that could speak about large language models, RACs and all stuff like this, telling you this is a parametric statistical model, which parameters are fitted. This is not the essence. We're not speaking about technical skills. We have a societal responsibility to take away old generation. It has to be inclusive, this idea we're speaking about. And I started 3 years ago writing monthly columns in I know it's a regional newspaper in Switzerland. Some of you have ever heard about it, but at least every month I try to get to my audience. The audience is my grandmother, my aunts, my cousins, so everyone has to pick some elements. I got several things Katharina does in Germany, and for example, it's about AB, so I think this is what we learned, and now there's ABC, now there's a new D which is needed in kindergarten, which is data. So it's about ABCD. Katharina once had an article on like table manners. So we as kids, we were used to learn how to eat correctly on a table. Our parents told us, you have to do this, and you have to do this, you have to do. It is exactly the same thing which is going now. We have to have this click here inside, because this has to do with data. So what do I want to do with data? What can I do with data? What I'm allowed to do? What should I say? Asking questions. And I think a baby grows up in our world by asking questions. Why can I not do this? Why am I not? Because I told you who I am. I'm your father. So we have these entities of trust which we receive. That this is exactly the same thing. It's about really this idea about table manners. So we heard terminologies. Here is what I understand, and so a lot of base what was done before, also Katharina has done. Data literacy is the ability to critically collect, manage, evaluate, and use data. So so you have this logo here, data literacy. You see it's like a flower, and this flower has like the blue circles and the red one in the middle. So the red one is the conceptual framework. You made it clear, AI without context. This is key. Then we have the other ones. It has to do with data collection, because data do not fall from the sky. All data are artifacts of human decisions. So people, everybody produces, they didn't come from the sky and then we apply some fancy algorithms. So it has to do with data collection, it has to do with data management, it has to do with data evaluation, learn, do something, create information, and at some point maybe we can use a statistical model, or we can use an AI algorithm or anything else, where we want to generate insights from data. This is, well, if you saw the definition before, AI, data and AI literacy is exactly this path. It starts with data somewhere, and then at some point you have the information, you apply algorithms. This is what I call the data evaluation. And it's about using data. Using data means also what comes out of ChatGPT are data. What comes out of an algorithm, which is a prediction, are data. An algorithm, a fitted model, is data. And then the thing here is really, it's about all these areas of expertise which are needed. And this also, as you see by definition, it's not easy. It's highly complex, it's completely multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and it's like reading and writing. And I think it's crucial for the preservation of the fundamental values in our democratic society. So I will not go now into detail. All things is not just coming because I wrote it here. This is really things which exist before AI. You have things which are done in the US. You also have a lot of songs which is done, initiated by Katharina in Germany, where you always have these skills and these competencies. The point I would like to make is really on this thing here. So, which is really, this from a white paper from 2015 from Data Pop Alliance, where you see here, it's in the intersection of a lot of disciplines. It's not statistical literacy, it's not AI literacy, it's not digital literacy. Data literacy, Romans had issues with data literacy. They needed to count how many people are living in the Roman Empire. So they had issues, they had to have competencies to do it. So you have all these literacies here, and this is somewhere at the interaction of all these different literacy. This is the key point. It's by definition interdisciplinary, it's multidisciplinary, and it's not just digital literacy, it's not just AI literacy. And if you see it from this point as well, it's really about, we have to equip individuals, citizens, kinder, children, to understand the underlying principles and challenges. And it's really about empowering people. We have to empower people, not about, you mentioned forbidding generative AI tools. This is the wrong thing. We let them use, but we have to empower them. If you use it, you should follow this principle. I know this legally you don't have to, but at least they have this awareness a little bit when they critically look at what comes out, they critically ask questions, they critically look at this thing. So it's about data literacy as a means towards the necessary implementation of community engagement and empowerment. So this we did when was the COVID. We did this now, for example, 6 blind people with the elephant. Depending on where you look, if it's this is in the health context now, everyone has his definition what the elephant is, and I think we have to we have to work it together. So it's not about this or this and this. So it only goes if we work together. This also means basically, how can we teach this? How can we learn this? It's really about asking questions. This is what we were used when we grow up on planet Earth as humans. It's about asking questions. If you hear something, what? For example, we had before some graphics on the level of AA education. Maybe you could ask, strange. So it's against my gut feeling. Then why? In which context was it said? Who said it? So what's the source who produced this information? And these are really simplistic questions, what I call a www check, which everyone can get a good idea how to scope, how to avoid data threats. It's not complicated science, but this is the type of things we have to teach everyone. Before they use a tablet, before they use in kindergarten an app, they have to think about, we heard it before about, my kids don't get this education, so it's my responsibility. I taught my kids how to do it. My kids will not allow you to take a picture if they don't want to, because they will tell you, young kids, 7-year-old will tell you, I don't want, this is my data. I know it's a bit nerdy, but because education is not giving it to me, it's my professional duty. I have to educate my kids. I have to explain this to the public. And that's the motivation I do these columns. I'm not a journalist, and I can tell you it's a huge amount of work just to write the stuff on 3,000 characters in such a way that everybody understands. So all these things started in July 2020. There was Corona, I know, and we started an appeal to policymakers because this lack of societal data literacy was there already before, but we saw Corona as a chance because not everybody heard about data, heard about R, statistics and all this stuff. So we said it's a chance. So together with the president of a medical doctor, we launched an appeal to policymakers. And the idea was a national data culture. When we did the appeal, Katharina was already involved already a bit, helped us a bit. It's about 3 pillars. One, the media have to be involved, journalists have, this is the bridge to the public. And I'm not telling what the journalist should write, but to create a bridge that we can communicate with the public. Second, data literacy education and training, not at the level of the university, down to the kindergarten, even before. And to assess this education, to have quality assurance, also have independent disciplines and data literacy center, which coordinate and stuff like this. So we made an appeal to policymakers to ensure responsible, critical, ethical, and sustainable handling of data in the future. This was 2020. Then the texts are in, you can scan this QR code, you even get it in French if you're interested, unfortunately not in English. There was a first interpellation to the Federal Council submitted to the Council of States, September 2020, which asked exactly the Federal Council to put the resources, the infrastructure in place to do this, basically. The question was then, yeah, we already do enough at the federal level, so no need for this. So that's why I put this smiley here. This was interpellation. We tried it on the cantonal level. So there's a new cantonal law, cantonal constitution, which now was not accepted, but there was a project, and we tried it to put in laws, which say the state, in the state of Wales, has to ensure that this is done down to the kindergarten level. Then there was some discussion. A lot of policymakers said, yeah, but this, we have digital literacy, so we don't cover it. Now I think, but at least we tried on everything we could with our possibilities. I also did it on international level together with Paris 21. So this is the OECD Partnership for Development in the 21st Century. We did a white paper in 2021 looking internationally what was done. We came up with 3 elements. There's no common language on data literacy. A lot of projects also in development countries in Africa. It has to adopt a demand-driven approach, participatory approach, and move from ad hoc programming towards sub-state policy investment and impact. So it helped a little bit to get this international view. Then in parallel, so we were able to put, we are not the politicals, we just briefed them. So there was in the National Council a motion on implementing a sustainable data literacy strategy, now in the context of the health. The National Council, 76% said yes. So I think it was one of the big, wonderful stays of my life. If you see something like this, they all said yes to what we want. But now, as you know, those who know a little bit the political system in Switzerland also know there's another thing. There is the Council of States. And they basically said no. And this was then a big frustration. Nevertheless, the discussion started going very at the highest political level on data literacy. And I think, so it was rejected, but we went on, we even said what could be possible solutions. So this is speaking notes of the Council of State persons, where we wrote him, it has to be done interdisciplinary together with this. Maybe you start with doing a charter or something like this. And so we described what potential solutions are, but the decision was no, it's not needed. It's also covered by this, and it's also covered by this. There was a bit the frustration. Nevertheless, all this work allowed me also to push these things more on an academic level. So there was a joint project with Geneva, Zurich, and other institutes, where we identified about the use of data in public health crisis in general. And as you can imagine, one of the barriers was the lack of data literate society. So one of the solutions clearly would be to have this. This enabled us, and this is the Swiss Parliament, we were invited to explain our white paper there to politicians. So at least this was quite interesting and good thinking. I also continued more on the international level, quoting here data literacy, a quote from David Spiegelhalter. Data literacy is for everyone. It's not only professionals that require data literacy. A lot of people forget it. It's basically requirement for every informed, you call prosumer, so I call it informed citizen. So for me, this is like so I see this as a mission. It's not for my person. I don't need this literacy thing. It's really, it's about leaving no one behind. So we also put stuff, so everything is in the public domain. You can click on also how you can promote data literacy. It's really to be able to find ways through the sea of data to have this new round of enlightenment, if you want. And all these things works are all completely interdisciplinary. Then the last thing we did in 2022, we sent a letter as Data Literacy Switzerland to the Swiss Academies of Arts and Science. So it's the highest scientific organ, if you want, in Switzerland. Based on what's done in Germany, it's your responsibility to make such a data literacy chart. It took then some time, some discussion about why we need this. We don't, as an academy, we normally don't produce any charters or stuff like this. And based on this idea our idea was to have a Christmas gift for last year. It took longer to convince people. Nevertheless, based on what's done by the Stifterverband in Germany, in March 14, the board of directors decided that we make a proposal with a working team, taking into account all scientific disciplines, basically, and it was externally reviewed. You also had the luxury of Katharina, who was reviewing it, and the Data Literacy Charter of Switzerland was approved, and they see it as considered very important to be implemented. And now, as I tell you, there's no resources or no legal basis, but I think now the highest scientific organ in Switzerland says there is important. It will, the planned current, it's followed about guiding principles. So the one we developed is in German. That's my simple translation. It has, first of all, the definition of data literacy I showed you before. To have this common understanding in Switzerland what we mean by data literacy. Second, it's about guiding principles. Here we have the 5. Data literacy is accessible to all people, down to kindergarten, to elderly people, etc. It's a lifelong learning process. There are different perspectives, so we have these different questions. It's a basis for database cognition and decision making, and it's ethically anchored. So if everything goes in the plan mid-May, so next soon, there should be a press communication of the Swiss Academy of Arts and Science. It will be translated in 4 or 5 languages. And then you can go to the politicians and say, hey guys, this is not we as our organization. Let's take the principles and the definition of the Swiss Academy of Arts and Science to advance. This is a little bit, I see this, I really wanted to have this as a Christmas gift. When I received this decision on March 14, I have to tell you I was crying like a small baby. In front of I read the email, I was, wow. I was completely speechless because, so stay tuned, work will be in progress. So in summary, promoting data literacy is about empowering all people to use basic principles and challenges. It enables all people to play an active and enlightening role in their social life. So it's about ABCD. And because soon will be April 1, so always have in mind, this is basically what we would like to everyone. On April 1, you look at something and you think it's April Fool. So every day should be seen as as April 1. So this April checks, if you get this in the brains of everyone, then we would have other things we could discuss. We could maybe then discuss what we do with all this cool stuff. And the last thing, dealing with AI requires an extremely high level of data literacy. So if you see here, you have the thing in the middle is something like ChatGPT or generative AI. What comes in is data. Then some fitted data stuff is applied. What comes out is data. If you don't have a high level of data literacy, you cannot use these things ethically correct and responsible. So data literacy, leave no one behind. So I hope I was give you a little bit how we can push pressure in the political system. Now we will see then with the charter to get even more pressure, because now the politicians cannot say we already have it covered because there's a new charter on data literacy. So these are a little bit my insights on this. Thank you.